Hey everybody, my name is Gavin and I love horror. 2022 was a great year for mainstream and indie horror. It seemed like every week there was a new outing from an established franchise or a new property, and more often than not, these outings were actually really great movies. And while my last video highlighted the absolute worst horror movies of 2022, it is now time to celebrate the best. Right now, here are the top 5 best horror movies of 2022. Let's get into it. Before we get to the main list, I do want to give out some honorable mentions. These are movies that I did really love, but they didn't make my top 5. The first honorable mention is gonna go to Smile. Smile is undoubtedly the scariest movie that I saw in theaters this year. Like, it had me stressed the whole time. For a movie that was gonna go straight to streaming and honestly looked like it could have been any sort of PG-13 horror movie from the mid-2000s, Smile proved to be an R-rated success, and I really hope it turns into a franchise. I really like Smile, but it did share a few too many similarities with The Ring and It Follows for it to actually crack my top 5. But I really did enjoy it, and I think you will enjoy it as well, and prepare yourself for a really scary time. My next honorable mention is Speak No Evil. Speak No Evil is a Danish film that demonstrates how far we as people are willing to go as not to be perceived as rude, and just how accommodating that we will be for other people, even if being accommodating leads to some truly awful things. It's hard to say that Speak No Evil is like one of the best movies or in my top 5, just because it left me feeling so depressed and bleak after it was over. Like, it left me in a very, very bad headspace. But even though Speak No Evil left me feeling super depressed, it was truly effective in showing that most of the truest evils are from humans and how we treat each other and what atrocities that we are actually capable of. I couldn't place this in my top 5 because it is very depressing, and it's really hard to recommend a movie this bleak and depressing, especially to somebody who may be suffering from depression. If you are prone to depression or mental health issues, do not watch this movie because it will leave you in a weird headspace for days. But if you're the kind of person who seeks out movies like The Mist, then Speak No Evil is going to be right up your very depressing alley. And the last honorable mention is The Sadness, and I know that this movie came out in Taiwan in 2021, but it did not hit Shudder and the United States until 2022, which is why it's in my honorable mentions. The Sadness is a Taiwanese zombie film that is as depraved as anything I've ever seen, and I can barely mention anything in this movie and it still be okay for YouTube. Basically, the zombie outbreak in The Sadness leaves everybody the most violent and sexually depraved version of themselves. If you love gore and the boundaries of good taste not only being pushed but absolutely destroyed, you will love The Sadness. It's not on my main list because after a while, all the gore and the edginess of the kills, oh god, the eye scene, kind of wears off, and you're left with a movie that sort of outstays its welcome, even if it does do something different with the zombie genre. All right, let's get to the main list, and at number 5, we've got Prey. The Predator franchise was all but dead after 2018's The Predator. After relying so much on this macho soldier portrayal in the Predator franchise, I was super intrigued when I heard the next protagonist was going to be a Native American female and that the movie would be set in the past. Having a different protagonist and a new setting was exactly what the franchise needed, and Prey ends up being one of the best entries in the franchise and maybe the best entry they've ever done. I really love the story of Prey, and I really like the design they did for the feral predator. It's a very cool design that really expands on what the Predator can look like, and I always love seeing how they make the Predator look different in the different entries. Amber Midthunder as Naru was an absolute badass and a formidable foe for the Predator. She absolutely steals this movie. She is so great. I cannot wait to see what comes next for her as an actress. I'm actually really excited for another Predator movie if they decide to do another one. I know a lot of people crap on Prey because some of the CGI at times, according to them, was questionable, but the CGI never bothered me. I never noticed it looking bad. But honestly, even if the CGI was not the best, I will take a movie with a great story and likable characters with some questionable CGI over flawless CGI and a bad story. Oh, and it's a damn shame that Prey went straight to Hulu and didn't get a theatrical release, because I think it would have been absolutely amazing to experience Prey in the theater. I think it would have been a great experience, and I'm really bummed that we were robbed of that. Number 4, Barbarian. Much like Smile, I didn't have high expectations for Barbarian when I first saw the trailers. Sure, it has Bill Skarsgård in it, and the idea of sharing an Airbnb with a stranger was a cool concept, but it seemed from the trailers to be your standard horror outing. What we got, though, was an absolutely batshit movie that rewarded you for going in as blind as possible. Like, I cannot stress, if you've not seen Barbarian, just like don't don't know anything about it, go watch it right now and just experience what unfolds as it unfolds, because it is ridiculous. The movie manages to build incredible tension, scare you, and then gives you a little bit of a breather. Barbarian is very scary. I screamed in the theater, but it's also a very, very funny movie. And that's because Zach Kreger, the director of Barbarian, is a former comedian in the Whitest Kid You Know comedy troupe. So he knows how to scare you, but then also make you laugh. And I love that. I love that about Barbarian. It's a very scary movie, but it's also so funny. And it's not like cheap laughs. It's just very funny sight gags, and really, it's very witty. It struck that perfect balance of horror and comedy that is so hard to achieve. I cannot wait to see what Zach Kreger does next in the horror genre. However, I am pretty pissed at him for ruining Baby Bottles for me forever. Number 3, The Black Phone. You could probably tell this was gonna make the list based on everything. Having been a fan of the short story by Joe Hill, I was super excited for a movie adaptation of The Black Phone. Ethan Hawke as the Grabber, even though a departure from how the Grabber is described in the short story, is absolutely wonderful in this role as the Grabber. He's super creepy, and I cannot imagine anybody else playing that role. The Black Phone managed to take a short story and not only adapt it, but really expand and flesh out this universe that it takes place in. And once again, the most horrific scares come from the human element, most notably that brutal spanking scene that still makes me uncomfortable 6 months later after seeing it. And it cannot be stated enough just how good the child actors in The Black Phone are. Child actors can make or break a movie. So many movies are ruined by annoying child actors, but every child actor in The Black Phone bring their A game and really help elevate the movie to new heights. This could have been a stereotypical slasher movie / kidnapping. Black Phone is something very, very special that came out in 2022. And for personal reasons, I love The Black Phone because a video I did for the movie actually kind of blew up and brought a lot of you to my channel. So I will always be very, very grateful that this movie exists. Number 2, Terrifier 2. I made a whole video explaining how history making the little scary clown movie that could was, but Terrifier 2 was hands down the best theater experience I had in 2022. And it cannot be stressed how much of a difference that makes when seeing a movie. To be gathered in a packed theater with other fans of this really obscure, violent clown movie, it was such a blast hearing people laugh at the right parts, people wincing and just screaming out when like all the gore was happening. It was such a fun time. Terrifier 2 takes everything that makes Terrifier 1 a cult classic and improves it in every way. Terrifier 1 didn't have a story, Terrifier 2 does. Terrifier 1 doesn't have characters that you're rooting for, Terrifier 2 does. And there's no way that Terrifier 2 could be gorier than Terrifier 1. It is. It is. It goes to great lengths to outgore the first movie, and it does it in an exceptional way. Art the Clown is an absolute icon and one of the scariest clowns ever, ready to ruin clowns for a whole new generation of fans. Terrifier 2 is just the perfect slasher experience. I'm a huge slasher fan, and Terrifier 2 scratches the itch for every slasher fan. And it also helps that everybody involved with the Terrifier 2 process, some I've met in real life, some I've interacted with on Twitter, they are all lovely people, and it is I'm so happy to see the success that they're having with the Terrifier series. With that said, don't make me wait another 6 years for Terrifier 3. Before we get to number 1, would absolutely love if you leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel. I recently hit my subscriber goal of 2,000 before the end of 2022, and I could not have done it without all of your help. I am truly, truly grateful for all of you who watch any of my videos, but if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Let's hang out for a while. Number 1, X and Pearl. Yes, I know I'm cheating by having 2 number 1s. I know. I went back and forth so many times which one should be number 1, what should be number 2, and I couldn't discount either of them. X and Pearl are absolute masterpieces. Ty West did something so great with these movies. X is a 1970s throwback movie, and Pearl is a love letter to 1920s cinema. It's so hard to make 2 movies so different but still in the same series. It's like watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Wizard of Oz back to back. Nobody does that. It's so wacky and creative, but it works in this world that Ty West has built. X deals with some of the scariest content imaginable in just dealing with getting older and not being sexually attractive to anyone anymore, and just that we will all face aging. And Pearl deals with the crushing realization that sometimes your dreams don't come true and how you handle that. These are all very real human issues that we deal with. Turned up to 11 for horror, of course, but these are relatable horror movies. It's not so much you're running from a guy in a mask, you're running from your own aging and your own inability to achieve your dreams, and that is very scary. The characters in both film are fully fleshed out, they have real motivations, and you can relate to them. That's what makes, I keep saying it, these movies are so relatable. But the true MVP of this franchise is absolutely Mia Goth. She is a force in these movies, playing Maxine and old Pearl in X, and then playing young Pearl in Pearl. She is absolutely phenomenal. The 10-minute monologue she gives in Pearl is the single best piece of acting I saw in all of 2022. Just a one take 10-minute monologue to go through that range of emotions, it brought me to tears. It was so powerful. And that, coupled with the way she breaks down at the dance audition, is just so incredible. As a content creator on YouTube, I feel that sometimes. Just, will anybody like what I'm doing? Does anybody care what I'm saying? And to have that relatability in Pearl just takes it to a whole nother level of what the horror genre can actually be. I made a video earlier this year saying, like, we need to improve, make slashers better, raise the bar. And while they're not traditional slashers per se, Pearl and X raise the bar so high. I cannot wait to see how they wrap up this trilogy in Maxine as we go to the 1980s. But X and Pearl are undoubtedly the best horror movies of 2022. But what did you think? Were you a fan of my top 5 list, or are there some movies that you would have left off? Maybe some movies you would have added? Let me know in the comments below what your top 5 movies of 2022 are. I love discussing that. There's probably stuff I should have seen that I didn't see. This is my last video of 2022 because I'm posting this on like December 30th probably, but I do want to take a second and say thank you so much to everybody who's watched my videos this year. You have made 2022 the absolute best year for Gavin Loves Horror. I'm over 2,000 subscribers now. I started the year at like 300 and I was happy with that, but to have so many people find my channel, subscribe, and interact, I am truly humbled by all of your support. I hope you have a fantastic new year, and I hope that you hang out with me in the coming year. Thank you so much for everything. As always, stay weird.